Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review. This is a little bit of a special one. This is my 350th review, and as always, as I do with these kind of milestone reviews, I want to thank all of you for your support to the channel. It's much appreciated, and I'm really glad that you're still enjoying these beer reviews. And I have saved quite a special beer for this one, as I like to do with the kind of milestone ones. This is a beer from a little brew pub in Taipei in Taiwan called Le Blé d'Or, and this is a honey lager. And it's one of the very, very few Taiwanese craft beers that you'll get. As you've probably seen if you've subscribed to my channel and saw the little channel message I did a while back, I took a trip going through Dubai, Taiwan and then Japan, and now I'm down in Australia, and this is where I'm filming this review for you. But since this is my only Taiwanese beer review that I'll probably do in quite a while actually, I need to give a shout out to Claire and Geneva Huang, who showed me around Taiwan. It's a very, very beautiful country, crazy cities in the west, some really beautiful scenery in the east, and you know, I absolutely loved it. If you do want a country that's very, very interesting history, very, very kind people, definitely go to Taiwan. It's a really incredible place, and I highly recommend that you go and do it. But as is usual then with my beer reviews, I'll take you through a short history of the brewery, just tell you a little bit about it. If you don't want to stick with me for that, just fast forward a few minutes and you will get straight to the tasting. The brewery website's in the video description for you below, along with a link to my reviews that I will hopefully do from these guys in the future. And I think I definitely will go back to Taiwan, so you will get Taiwan beer again sometime in the future, but as to when, I really can't guarantee you at the moment. But anyway, as I mentioned to you, this brewery is called Le Blé d'Or, which is quite unusual when you actually go to the restaurant, and I'll tell you why in a little second. But this is a small brew pub and restaurant located in the Asia World Mall in Taipei in Taiwan, and they do have a second location below the Ferris wheel in Miramar in the city also. But the beer is brewed in Shishi in Taipei province, and then it's actually shipped into the city, into the two different locations there. But the restaurants are German themed, and they serve quite an interesting food, and it's quite funny because it's all these Taiwanese people dressed up in German clothing, so it's very, very unusual. And then the brewery does have a sort of French name, so it's kind of like, it's a little bit confusing, but it's a very, very nice little restaurant actually. But a lot of their food is quite interesting because it's almost as if there's a kind of Taiwanese take on German style food, but there are sort of more traditional Taiwanese dishes as well. But at any one time you'll find 3 beers on tap in the restaurant, and occasionally you'll get a nice seasonal beer as well. But the 3 regulars are termed lager beer. This one apparently is a Munich style Helles. They have a honey lager as well, which is this guy here, and they also have the black lager, and this was a porter. When I tasted it, I tasted the little tray thing, and I tasted this one, and it was a porter, but it was almost a little bit lighter than that, so it was quite an interesting beer to try. But apparently beer brewing was regulated by the government in Taiwan for a long time, but now there are a number of small start-up breweries emerging throughout the country. One of the most prominent ones actually is 866, and those guys are going to be collaborating with Evil Twin Brewing over the next little while, so you might hear a bit more of them in the quite near future. But there's also Taiwan Beer Factory and also Gordon Biersch, who are another one from Taipei. I didn't get to visit them, but I'll save that for next time. But the most widely drunk beer in Taiwan is simply called Taiwan beer, and there's a few different varieties, and I think these are called the Classic and the Gold Medal. So this is the beer you'll see all around Taiwan. It's the most commonly served one, but I think you do get Guinness and Heineken and you know, that kind of thing in Taiwan too. It's not so common to drink beer, interestingly, in Taiwan, but they're really starting to get the craft beer bug, and hopefully places like this will kind of take off in the next little while. But anyway, let's get on to the tasting section of this. I hope you enjoyed my kind of little rambling about Taiwan, if you like, but let me just bring up the camera and I'll let you have a quick look at the bottle art on this one. So as you can see, this is the symbol here for Le Blé d'Or. It's a nice kind of, you can see the Chinese writing above it. I think that does literally just say Le Blé d'Or in Chinese. The Taiwanese, interestingly enough, use traditional Chinese, but the mainland Chinese use the simplified one. So this is why you see traditional Chinese always marked as traditional and simplified. And I think simplified is so you have to kind of minimise the difference between sort of like Cantonese and Mandarin. So you can see that. This is the bottle cap on top of it. It's one of these pop ones, so that's another kind of thing they've taken from the Germans in their restaurant rather than the French. And I don't know how well you can see that on the glasswork there, but there's a nice kind of barrel kind of in the glasswork of this one there, and you've got the nice Chinese writing up there too. Hopefully I can keep this bottle, but I'm not sure if I will be able to. This guy is a 5% beer. It's a honey lager. This is one of the tankards that I bought from the place also. It's kind of reflecting off the light that's above me there, but you can see there, that's the brewery symbol. But without further ado, let's actually get this guy open and get on with the tasting here. So, Le Blé d'Or, my very first Taiwanese beer review. You can see quite a nice big bang and a nice smoky opening there. So let's get this guy out and we'll see how we get on here. Just need to watch I don't get too much head on it here. Yeah, it's coming out quite crazily, but it's a lot lighter than I remember it being. I thought it was a good bit darker than this. Maybe they've given me the wrong beer, who knows. But we'll see. As you can see, I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a look at that. You can see it's a nice, oh no, it's definitely the honey one, I can smell it. But you can see it's got a nice kind of quite clear yellowy colour in it there. A good bit of carbonation, a big bit of carbonation actually going up towards the top, and it's got a massive head as you can see, so we'll need to let that settle a little bit. But it looks, you can really smell the honey coming off this one just when you're pouring it out. But hopefully that will just settle down a little bit there. Yeah, that'll do just now. But as you can see, we'll give it a wee smell and hopefully it will just calm down a little bit. Yeah, there's definitely some kind of honey in there actually. But yeah, it's really nice looking beer actually. Very nice. You can just see there's so much carbonation in this. When I had it in the restaurant, it really didn't have this much in it, but it smells beautiful actually. Nice little bit of honey in it as well. So let's give it a taste and see how we get on here. The aroma actually, it's very kind of bready, actually, very bready, but it's got that really kind of typical sweet caramel in it. I remember when I smelt it in the restaurant when it was on tap, it didn't have such a prominent caramel aroma. It was more bready, but it did have that kind of sweet caramel just kind of lying within the yeast there. There's quite a bready and quite a yeasty smell that's on this one. But it's a really nice smelling beer. I'm looking forward to trying this one. So my very first Taiwan beer review, Le Blé d'Or Honey Lager, sorry. Yeah, very smooth actually. And one thing you will notice about if you go to Taiwan and you drink the water, it's very kind of minerally. It's almost a little bit volcanic. It was the same as I noticed when I was in Iceland. It has that very kind of minerally sort of smooth feel to it. But yeah, at the front of the tongue, you're getting a nice little bit of the kind of more hoppy attack that comes into it. It has just a teeny little bit of grassiness to it, but overall it's kind of more malty and kind of smooths out on the tongue and just goes towards the back. You're getting a lot of this sort of bready mouthfeel that just goes, it kind of splits and goes down the side of the tongue there. It's pardon me, it's really beautiful actually. It's quite highly carbonated though. That's the one thing. I think in Taiwan I found the beer was quite highly carbonated, but this is what you get in hotter countries. You know, they want the beer to be quite refreshing, and this is what you would expect. Taiwan was very hot actually, but it's not the hottest place I've ever been. Dubai was hotter. But yeah, it's very smooth, and you've got this nice underlying, really kind of sweetish, bready dough yeast in there, and you just get a little bit of caramel that kind of sits right in the middle of the tongue there. It's really nicely done. It's almost as if they've just from what I remember with the Helles lager beer, it was quite similar to this, but the caramel, the honey lager, did have just a little bit more caramel malt in it. The caramel isn't too prominent in it. It's just a nice kind of small addition that they've made to it, but it's very nice. It's a very easy, very sessionable drinking beer actually. Yeah, there's a lot of nice sweet bready yeast there that just sits at the back of the tongue. A nice kind of sweet, juicy kind of caramel flavour that just sits right around the edge, but you've got a little bit of hoppy character at the front of the tongue there. It's a little bit citrusy, a little bit grassy, so it's quite an interesting kind of honey lager that they've got here. It really does have the typical kind of lager characteristic to it rather than simply being a honey beer, if that makes sense. So it's quite interesting in that regard. But in terms of the mouthfeel, it's very smooth actually. The carbonation, you can see a hell of a lot of it, but overall it's a very kind of smooth tasting beer. And I've never had a beer that has this much carbonation in it and can still be so smooth, so it's really interesting in that regard as well. But I mean, overall, it's a very kind of interesting beer to review for you. And when they say it's a honey lager, they really mean it. It does have the hoppy character and the nice kind of malty bready character that you expect of the kind of Munich Helles style lager beer. So it's almost as if it's a Helles lager, a Munich Helles lager, with just a little bit more caramel malt put in it to give it that nice kind of really sweet, dark, maltier feel to it. So it's a really interesting one. When they say, as I say, when they say it's a honey lager, they really mean it. It does have that lager characteristic, just with a little bit more caramel put in it. But as I say, if you do get the chance to visit Taiwan, definitely go and check out this little brewery. As I say, they've got their 3 regular beers, and if you go at Christmas, Easter, or later in the summer, you will get one of the seasonal ones as well. Unfortunately, when I went, the seasonal beer had run out. But we still enjoyed the beer and had a taste of them all. The porter beer was actually very interesting because it was very light, and as I said, Taiwan's a very hot country, so it's almost the same in the Caribbean, where they're quite famous for stouts. They've got these very kind of light stouts there, so it's a very, very interesting place to go and visit. So I highly recommend you go and take a look at the little brew pubs in Taiwan, and hopefully we will hear more about the Taiwan beer in the future. But I hope you've enjoyed this 350th review that I've done for you. I've enjoyed doing one revisiting the Blade Order beer. I thought was very nice, and it's been cool to be able to review this for you, especially for one of my kind of landmark reviews, if you like. So as always, please let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on this beer. If you do happen to have tried it, go check out their website and learn a little bit more about Taiwan and Taiwanese beer. And as I say, I hope you've enjoyed this review, and please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff, and I hope you're enjoying the Australian beer reviews that I've been putting up for you as well. So I'll catch you soon with the next review. Cheers!